So today we're going to focus on a topic that I've kind of been wondering about, and I just feel like the answer has been set in stone and been proven multiple times since it came out. But there was a debate back when it first released, and what I'm talking about is whether Super Saiyan God is stronger than Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan slash Super Saiyan Blue. Because in the Resurrection F movie, which was the second piece of media following Battle of Gods, which would first introduce Super Saiyan God, we immediately get introduced to Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, which is a different form that uses God Ki the same as Super Saiyan God, but we just don't know. And a lot of people went on both sides of it. I was personally on the side that Super Saiyan God made more sense to be stronger than Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, but a lot of people were on the other side, and they were proven right. But that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about why, not that I'm right, but why it would make a lot more sense if I was right for power scaling and to move forward. Because for this, you have to understand what Dragon Ball is going through. So Dragon Ball had ended years before Battle of Gods came out. Battle of Gods came out as a special movie that was canon to source material and ultimately led to Dragon Ball Super. But it was the first movie in a while. Dragon Ball had GT, but it was not canon, and everyone was super hyped about it, especially when we got this new transformation and a lot more lore about the Dragon Ball universe, with there being the reveal that it's a multiverse, which right now is just like everything's a multiverse, but back then, because 2012, it was surprising. Nobody saw it coming. We got to learn about Gods of Destruction. We got to learn about a lot more in the universe, and Super Saiyan God, which was a cool transformation. I personally thought it was like one of those minimalist transformations where he gets thinner, he gets red hair, his hair doesn't become spiky upward like a normal Super Saiyan does. So it had enough difference where I didn't need him to go Super Saiyan 4, but it was a cool form nonetheless. And it begs a lot of questions, and ultimately, with its huge reception, they end up making another movie within the same span, focused in like the same way, and it's still another canon movie. Ultimately, these get redone in the anime and the manga slightly differently in each. The anime has Captain Ginyu, the movie doesn't, and it's just we start to learn about Super Saiyan Blue, which a lot of people considered one way or the other at that point. Ultimately, in the next arc, it's kind of shown fully that Super Saiyan Blue is the stronger form. When Goku fights Hit, he uses Super Saiyan God again. But up to that point, we were like, maybe Super Saiyan God is a form they can't use anymore. And it just begs a lot of questions for the audience. And the debate was big. A lot of people, Goku's quotes ultimately led them to think different ways. I was one of those people. So that is something. Like, if you listen to how Goku describes it right here, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue seemingly is a different form that at least from my opinion on it, isn't as strong.
So what is this, Super Saiyan with blue hair dye?
It's a little more complicated than that. You don't have the patience for the full story. So let's say I got a taste of something called Super Saiyan God, and now I've learned to tap into that power on my own.
Not bad at all, Goku. This is just further vindication. If I hadn't evolved to a new level myself, then this might have proven rather
So essentially, as that clip shows, it says, I've learned something called Super Saiyan God, and I've been able to tap into it, where it's either like, okay, he's tapping into it and evolving it, combining Super Saiyan God with Super Saiyan, or he takes it in the sense where he's able to use some of Super Saiyan God's power within his Super Saiyan form, which is why it's a different shape than different shade or color than normal Super Saiyan being blue rather than gold or blonde. And that's the way I took it. But more so than anything, it just shows that at least to me, that it's a form that made more sense being weaker than God, despite the name, because what it signified. We move forward in Dragon Ball, and you're essentially assuming, okay, based on all the knowledge we have, because the Golden Frieza Resurrection F arc is literally the next arc after Battle of Gods, Goku and God fought Beerus when Beerus was going 70% of his power. And now Super Saiyan Blue, which is a lot stronger, assuming it is just straight up Super Saiyan God along with a Super Saiyan multiplier, which was canonically confirmed to be 50%, 50 times what his strength was, that means he's 50 times stronger than Super Saiyan God. So does that mean Goku is just a lot stronger now than Beerus? Why is Goku so afraid of Beerus at the beginning of the movie? Doubling down, why is Frieza scared of Beerus if Goku was able to fight him in the previous arc? You could literally see Whis call Beerus using 70% of his power.
It's fun. Somewhat, at least. There's no way to deny it. His latent ability is hard to fathom, and there's great potential yet to be tapped. Still, he's not strong enough to be called an arch-rival.
Perhaps not, but it's been a very long time since you've had to use nearly 70% of your power, and that must have been quite exciting for you.
I'm already forgetting. What was his...
It just felt to me that it wouldn't make sense for Toriyama to automatically retcon himself when it's super simple, just leave Super Saiyan God as stronger. Now, ignoring all the facts that Goku and Vegeta keep getting stronger now, where they are so much more powerful than they were, if you take the anime at least, then Goku has Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, which Kaioken is a multiplier. So it's a multiplier on top of a multiplier on top of God. So Goku now has to be so many times stronger than he was when he fought Beerus in Battle of Gods, that Beerus would have to have literally used conservatively less than 1/100th% of his power for that to actually have been a fight like it was. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with continuously power scaling. It does have problems. Dragon Ball fans are just kind of used to it at this point. I mean, I know I am. But it's a lot simpler, at least for me, if you make the argument that Goku is just Super Saiyan God is a set amount of power. Even if Goku in the future is stronger than Super Saiyan God is in his base form or in any of his forms, if he uses the ritual again, he'd ultimately lose power because that's just catered at that percent. It's the ritual gives you X amount of power regardless of how much power the people around you give you for the ritual or any of that. It's like a set time limit. It's kind of like an ace in the hole situation. And you could have just set it that way where then, okay, Goku learns Super Saiyan Blue and it incorporates some of Super Saiyan God's power and God Ki, which literally nobody else uses, but everyone else is still as strong as Goku and Vegeta. But you could have had it incorporated, and that's why it's blue, and you could make it a lot weaker than Super Saiyan God. That way you still keep the scaling from the first movie intact, where they're a lot stronger than they were at the end of at the end of the Buu arc, and then they'd still be a lot weaker than Beerus, allowing them to have room to grow, and then Goku continuously gets stronger, but it's still a long way from God. And maybe in the universe survival arc, when Goku ultimately goes Ultra Instinct, you could say that point is when Goku actually finally surpasses what Super Saiyan God was, rather than make it a one-off transformation that's kind of just used now as a catering to, oh, it takes less energy than Blue, so I'll use it for a second, then turn into Blue, or I'll use it for fan service for the audience being like, oh my God, that's Super Saiyan God. We haven't seen that in a while, before ultimately having to go Blue anyways. It just feels like it's unnecessary is a good way to put it for the audience because of what it does. And you could say, okay, but what if Ultra Instinct is now then 80% as powerful as Beerus, and that's why you had to use all that power, and now we're a lot closer in power scale. You could argue, okay, Beerus wasn't sleeping. He usually sleeps. And he's now, let's say he gets stronger, but he doesn't have to be so ridiculously powerful that it makes the other movies useless. Like, he sees Goku and Vegeta's power are reaching close to his, so he starts taking his training more seriously. And he maybe learns Ultra Instinct further, because in the manga we see that he has, at least to some extent, an Ultra Instinct of his own. It's not a form, but he's able to use it to some capacity. It's a difficult technique for even gods, is how it's specified in the manga and anime. So we just have to, we could take it that way, and it becomes a lot more interesting story-wise. Because there's so many times where they just have to keep biting their tongue. They're like, oh, you know, if you and Vegeta combined your powers, you might be able to fight Lord Beerus even. In Resurrection F, it's mentioned. But then they go Vegito Blue against Zamasu. And yes, they do beat Zamasu. But you could argue that Tournament of Power, Goku and Vegeta are now a lot stronger than Vegito Blue was in the Future Trunks arc. So where are we supposed to scale these characters? And then it's kind of just like, oh, by the way, they're scalable that way. Beast Gohan's now stronger than Ultra Instinct Goku, and Orange Piccolo is now a lot stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Goku through a wish and through just Gohan getting angry and rehashing the Super Saiyan 2 transformation. So just honestly, it feels like just canonically, if you had made Super Saiyan God a lot stronger than Super Saiyan Blue and made it a form that they can't tap into that often, maybe they used it in an emergency without the ritual, which would have been a hype moment, you could have just set it up as this form that they have to surpass. It's, as Goku says in the Dragon Ball Battle of Gods movie, he's like, I hate this form because it's what it took to get the power. He couldn't do it on his own. And while he ultimately, in Super Saiyan, retains some of its power, and that could be a hint to, hypothetically, of God in Super Saiyan Blue later, because he retained a little bit of its power, you could argue like he did in the movie, he could tap into that form in the most emergency of settings, and that way we could have it just there. And then you could think, okay, well then it's just a Deus Ex Machina against most of the characters because everyone is pretty much weaker than Beerus in most instances. But it just is a lot more interesting than just making the form a one-off that pretty much sets up all of Super to then be used and completely outscaled by the next movie. Golden Frieza is literally stronger than God Goku. The God Goku that fought Beerus. Why is Frieza scared of Beerus if Goku had fought Beerus to 70% of his power in the last movie? You could literally see in the movie, he's like, oh my god, Lord Beerus, like, look at the clip.
What? Beerus is here?
You forgot to say Lord. That's not polite, Frieza. I guess you must be thinking even more highly of yourself than usual.
Yes, Lord Beerus, forgive me.
So yeah, it just felt like it was out of nowhere. Frieza getting that much stronger is just kind of a plot for the movie that ends up sticking throughout the show, because now, spoilers for the manga if anyone just stopped at where the anime ended, but Frieza has a new form, Black Frieza, which was able to one-shot Goku in Ultra Instinct, True Ultra Instinct, which is a form that allows him to use his emotions while being in Ultra Instinct. But he also Ultra Ego Vegeta, which is Vegeta's new form that he got in the Granola arc that uses Destruction, which is Beerus' Hakai essentially, as a basis, and he gets more powerful with the more attacks that he takes. So we just see him one-shot both of those where they got healed, literally the last chapter, because they had to make that point that Frieza is that much stronger. And Goku and Vegeta literally aren't in the Super movie because they are training for Black Frieza. They had to essentially spend the next few years just training, and we don't even know how the Black Frieza arc's going to go because it's been so long, and they're rehashing the Super manga superhero movie in the manga. So today or tomorrow, we're going to get the manga where they finally get Beast Gohan and maybe this arc ends. But who knows? That's not really the point, though. It's just kind of to show where Goku and Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue kind of have gotten you, where you just have to kind of keep scaling everybody up in the next chapter. Like, I know the Krillin Kamehameha versus Goku, he does get overpowered and Goku is 100% holding back. The idea that he even went blue implies that current Krillin could literally no-diff Cell, which feels ridiculous. Android 18 could no-diff perfect Cell. It just feels like these characters have to get so much more powerful because of the baseline God created, where it's so powerful that you can't even sense it unless you have God Ki. It's like, oh my god, I can't sense Goku's Ki anymore. It must be related to this God Ki that he has. And I just feel like that's a good way of doing it. You could have made it a benchmark, and while Goku obviously will have to get there and surpass it on his own, because that's kind of how Goku goes about stuff, it would have been a lot easier than being like, okay, now Goku before the Battle of Gods movie might have been a 5. Now, after the Battle of Gods movie, he's a 30, but then now we're going to have Frieza, and Frieza might have been back then a 1. Now Frieza's a 31, 30 as well, and it's just, okay, where's the scaling supposed to go? Krillin was super weak, but now he has to be like a 20. And I know this isn't even a good scale because it gets so ridiculous if you actually try to calculate power levels. It's like quadrillions and quintillions might even be lowballing it for some of these characters. So just honestly, it would have been a lot easier keeping God as a nice benchmark, which is really the point of what I'm trying to say. And obviously Toriyama won't fix it. It's been too late. What are they going to say? Oh, everything in the manga and movies are now retconned. God was actually stronger, and Goku and Vegeta just used it sometimes. But it honestly should have been left that way, and that's just where I stand on this. If you kind of agree, let me know. I'd appreciate any feedback, like I said in my first video, which I know isn't really on the same subject as this one, just kind of picking what I want to talk about. Please let me know. I'm happy to take critiques. I'm just trying to learn, and if anyone has any video ideas, let me know. If I'm interested, I'll try to make one of those too. I'm just trying to find stuff that I like to talk about and maybe find a community that also likes to talk about those things, be that sports, be that anime, be that power scaling and how that ruins some mangas and animes. But that's just me. I guess if you stayed till the end of the video, thank you. Like, follow, and subscribe. Bye.